Upon the examination of the galaxies of space, images begin to appear. Images of strange and powerful forces. But of all the forces in the universe, the most powerful
is Tall Can Audio.
Thomas gave it to Sundin. They go up the net. Sundin! A hit on the boards. Only Claire is hurt. The play goes right on. They score. Ottawa scores a goal, and a Leaf player nailed along the boards from a check from behind.
Green's going over to point the finger at Chris Neal.
Tucker's right on the bench.
It's broken right off the bench.
Well, Tucker hit him right on the bench, so we got a real problem here. And Tucker went over and tangled with somebody on the Ottawa bench.
And Pat Quinn slamming a stick in disgust on and now the Ottawa bench is throwing stuff at the Leaf bench. This is old-time hockey now.
That glass, you can scale it if you want it.
And now Tucker and Knighty are throwing punches on the ice.
Neal and Domi will square off, and Domi is still working it over. But Neal trying to come back. These are two tough customers. Domi throwing that left viciously at Chris Neal.
Well, with less than a second to go, Neal took Domi into the boards with a pretty good body check, and away they go.
Time running down. Nieberger can't get it through. It'll be sent ahead, and Triple Drake is going to put the finishing touches on an Ottawa win. Riley takes exception to that. And the Battle of Ontario will boil over here.
God, that Ottawa horn is loud. It's fucking obnoxious. The Battle of Ontario is set to boil over again once more, and it happens, Rob, on WrestleMania weekend.
What's that?
Did the music do anything? Did you pull it at all?
That's the old Molestar music.
It's not.
It's obviously, is it Saturday Evening Wrestling?
It was one of the original WrestleMania themes. Okay. WrestleMania kind of 8 through 12 or 13. There was an older one before that, but that's my golden era, is that WrestleMania 9, 10, 11.
Has sort of a porn feel to it, like something that some...
It's boiling over here.
80s porn movies said, you know what?
Well, that makes sense. Like, with Vince McMahon at the helm, the 80s would have arrived in 1994 for WrestleMania. Like, that's sort of how on top of pop culture he is. We thought we would tee up and recap in multiple episodes the Battle of Ontario, which is going to start on Easter Sunday. So we're going to use this episode to just sort of look back a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, we probably won't have the same fond memories. We will remember the same moments, but coming at them from a fairly different light. So
disparate. Yeah,
I would imagine so. And so we'll start with sort of looking back, and tomorrow we will get to looking ahead and previewing the series that will be between the Leafs and the Sens for the first time since 2004. We'll get to that, but obviously when reminiscing, one needs a pint. What are you having?
Oh, perfect.
Tentative.
Yes, but intentionally tentative.
Okay.
I was like, it's, I was.
I hope that's not an omen for the Sens.
Yeah, I had it in my bag and I was slinging it around, and you're like, all right.
A rare weeknight recording session. So this beer's traveled a little.
It has, from the wilds of Canada.
Way out there.
Yeah, to right here in beautiful Bytown.
Yeah, basically just outside the arena, all the way back to the city.
Correct. I am going with something further east of here to one of our favorites, Dominion City. Mm-hmm. This is their West Coast Pilsner.
I'm still miffed at them.
The Pizza Party.
Yeah, it's a nice beer.
So I don't know if I've had it on the show, but
I had it on the show. It happened to not explode in my face, which is a nice touch. I love when that, that's a nice quality for a beer. Should we address the elephant in the room right now, or just see if we have to later? Is this?
Well, Matt has taken up a little bit of. He's running a skate sharpening business right outside the studio.
It does sound that way.
It does. Bit. So it's playoff time.
Yeah.
Tape and sticks, sharpening skates. This is what we do.
The series starts when it starts. The long weekend starts when it starts, and there's a little work happening around my place as well, just outside the studio. So if you hear any, noises in the background, no, you didn't. and just sit back and enjoy the ride.
If you can drive with a live bobcat, you can drive anywhere.
Over here, I thought since we were going to reminisce a little bit, I would go back.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're going to drink a Molson Canadian?
It crossed my mind.
Okay.
But I'm heading down to visit the old man for the long weekend, so I imagine I will drink enough of his Molson Canadian then, okay. And didn't need to jump the gun. But I was trying to go, was there anything even mildly adventurous about what I was drinking at the time? And not really, right? We would go to like a Don Cherry's down in Whitby or over in Bowmanville or Curtis, I guess it was. And they would always have like 2 pounds and a mini pitcher or something like during playoff games. So
sign me up.
That would be sort of the Molson Canadian extent of it. But I do seem to recall that by 2004, the final time the Battle of Ontario was going, Steam Whistle was around. And Steam Whistle had become a thing. And so reached in, grabbed one of those. This was before, I was just trying to, in doing a little bit of show prep, trying to remember, when did they fire up and when did they sort of land on my radar? And I was sort of looking, they started the brewery in 98, but 2000 is when they sort of, become a little bit more well-known. And everything then, as I'm doing, you go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and you end up God knows where. And it's saying that slogan they had forever, do one thing very, very well. And all the quotes on their website in the About Us section is about how we're going to dedicate ourselves to this. And we sit here now in 2025. They tried like 17 different things since then, right? They've had the pale ale. They've had
We've stopped doing one thing very, very well.
We do several things fine, right? Which is less catchy. Like you don't need that on a T-shirt.
Okay, so you're going through. You're taking down
a Steam Whistle Pilsner.
All right, which is good.
Yeah.
So to me, this is nice. It's got all those Pilsner aspects with a little bit of the hoppy bitterness that you would expect from something with West Coast. So 5.4. Mm-hmm. It's nice. It's an easy drinking beer. Just briefly.
Yeah.
Talking about memories. So I was at the Sens Blackhawks game on Tuesday of last week.
Mm-hmm.
Their beer selection lacks a little something.
Almost every arena does. Right?
And so my go-to is always a Heineken.
Okay.
And so, second period, I go down. I want my popcorn and I want my Heineken. Sold out of the Heineken arena wide.
Wow.
All they have, Molson Canadian and a Coors Light. So I'm like, do I go without? Do I just swallow?
I'm so indignant about this.
Do I just swallow my own spit? Anyways,
if I get the popcorn, I won't have any spare
this is
spit.
It.
I need something.
Because I got the popcorn. I got the $8 popcorn in my hand. Anyways, I took the Molson Canadian.
Yes, you did.
And
much like he's done for.
Yeah.
This hasn't been a thing around here for a long time, but yeah. Rob would always shit on the Molson Canadian until it was all that was left in the house.
Until it was about 11 o'clock or we were 6 or 7 in. And you're like, oh, is there nothing else? What do you got there? Anyways, the first pull on that Molson Canadian tasted like high school. So to me, that is one of those things where sense, sounds, taste take you back to different places. Mm-hmm. And be like, yeah, man, I'm drinking behind the machine shop at high school. Down by the cliffs in Lakefield, just doing whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah. So anyways, memories, Molson Canadian, beer.
100%, man.
Good times.
And had I not had the Steam Whistle here, that is what I would have done. And you already, before I'd even said anything, you were cocking your fist back to come across the table at. That is what I was.
Always.
Yeah, that is what I would have mostly been riding with at the time. Like for me, these are just out of high school kind of, and frankly, a little bit towards the very end of high school. So you take what you can get in some cases. And at Don Cherry's, the craft scene wasn't a thing yet, but it certainly wasn't going to be at Don Cherry's either way, right?
Good wings.
Fun place, great wings, and a fun place to watch a hockey game.
True. I agree.
And this is essentially all this episode is going to be. Like, what do you remember out of the 4 of 5 years? I believe it was 2000, 2001, 2002, skipped 03, and then 04. Yeah. And so, the franchises at this point, and maybe the best place to start would be to ask you, like, the Leafs at that point, it's been a long time since they won the Cup, but at that point, for me, it's not a meme yet, right? Like,
well, you're not jaded.
Fair enough, yeah. And the Sens, like the whole Canada thing hasn't happened yet. The Habs just won in 93. There'll be more cups to come for Canada as we move forward, no doubt. But the Sens are the new guys, and they spent at least, 2 years where they would have been a joke, the first 2 years, or just the first?
Oh, no, the first 2 years. The second year was worse than the first year.
Okay. When do you remember hearing the term, the Battle of Ontario? Like, when you come in and you're an expansion team and you know you're bad, do you really care if you're playing the Habs or the Leafs, or is it just another night to get waxed? Like, when do you sort of remember it becoming a thing?
For the most part, the early years, the good part of the 90s. Now, early on, I was a Wings fan still.
Yes.
But I had moved back to Ottawa in 94, and so I sort of slowly started to, as they started to get a little better.
Sure.
The captain.
But it's less embarrassing.
The giddy-up Captain Randy Cunneyworth years in sort of mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
But most of those years, you sort of put your right arm up next to your head and try and ward off blows, right? Because you're trying to keep your head above water. And in those early years, it's the Doug Gilmour 92, 93 years. Like, Toronto's good.
Yeah, 2 conference finals there, 93, 94.
And so...
Habs just won a cup.
Exactly. So and you're an expansion team.
Yeah.
Now, no one expects anything of you.
Sure.
But it was... it wasn't until the later 90s when both teams sort of seemed to be in the same area at the same time.
Is it 97 the Sens make it for the first time?
97, 98,
okay.
I believe.
And that's the year they play the Devils in the first round? Do I have this? Why am I should just ask you instead of throwing my wrong answers out.
No, I think the first year they played Buffalo.
Okay.
And that's the Derek Plant puts the puck through Tugnut's glove.
Right. Okay.
In that sort of seventh game, and it trickles in. The next year was when they beat the Devils in round
That's what
one.
I'm thinking.
Kravchuk drives the stake through the Devils' heart. That whole
yeah. So it's the concept of the Battle of Ontario. Like, maybe that term doesn't even arise until that first playoff meeting.
That's my recollection.
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was listening the other day to JR on TSN 1200, which is irrelevant. I was doing it, but now that I think about it, it was a tweet I read of his where he made the point.
That guy who works on the radio is also on my phone.
Right. He said it's funny that the reputation seems to be how often the Sens were better and would get washed out by the Leafs.
Yeah.
He goes, the Leafs had 3 out of the 4 times had home ice advantage.
Yeah.
That is not my recollection at all of how that played out.
Well, I think the one year when Ottawa was significantly higher ranked, I think that's the year that
they won 8 in a row or something.
In the regular season.
Yes.
Back in the days, kids, when you played a team 8 times in the regular season.
You'd already played 8 games before you got to your best of 7.
I am a lover of the divisional format. That's a bit much.
It was a tad much.
Yes. 4-5, I'm down with that. 8, too much.
Like this year, 3 between these two teams.
Little.
Too few.
Yeah.
8, too much.
Yeah. So there was the one year when Ottawa was significantly better, and I think Toronto swept them.
Yes.
That's my recollection.
That is correct, yeah.
So shit goes out the window, really, when it comes down to the playoffs.
Yeah. Do you notice a difference now? Because you've got what is the term? The Sens Insider or...
Sens on Demand?
Sens on Demand, okay. Because the TSN 1200 morning show was also talking on Thursday morning about the idea that there was one last pre-sale for Sens Insiders before the single game tickets went on. So that's a different group. That might be the one.
No, that's we're in that.
Okay. So, like, it's sort of, I have no idea where I plan to take that question now that I think about it, but do you remember, in 2000 when this first happened, were the Sens being overrun maybe more or less by Leaf fans? Was the fact that this is the franchise is like, it's still new, it's still shiny, the Battle of Ontario isn't really a thing yet? There was always Leaf fans in the building, but you and I have talked a bunch of times about, is it going to be 20% this time, 30% this time, whatever that looks like. Was that a thing right from the beginning?
No. To me, it's way worse now because what you had in the beginning was they're in the Corral Center. They're over at Lansdowne in a 10,000 seat arena, and you are jammed with season ticket holders. And then as you moved out, and I was part of that, I had flex packs always for the first 5 years. They were out at the Palladium, and then the Corral Center, right into the early Scotiabank years. And so the season ticket base, so the team was better, and the season ticket base was so much higher. And so you didn't have this sort of, you weren't, like I think I heard Andlauer last week drop on the radio that there was 8,000 that's your season ticket base?
Something like that.
That's incredibly low.
It is.
You're moving 10 to 11,000 single game tickets.
It's hard, man.
And so there's a shit ton of Leaf fans in the city.
Yes.
Forget about the ones that are willing to travel for cheaper tickets. So that, as the team got worse, got run in a really shoddy fashion, and season ticket base eroded and eroded and eroded, and there was more available. And then as the building got more full of Leaf fans, you have season ticket holders going, fuck it.
I don't want to go to that.
I don't want to go to that game. Yeah. I can sell that ticket for 2 or 3 times more and not put up with it. And it
snowballs on itself.
It snowballs in a wicked hurry.
Yeah.
And so to me, this is I don't remember this problem in the early 2000s. It's really sort of hit its zenith right now.
See, I think that's right, because when I think about the early days of seeing Leaf fans pop up at Sens playoff games, it really felt like it was Toronto area fans, and the price differences were so significant.
Staggering.
Yes. That you would go, I can drive up there, have a party night in someone else's barn, maybe spend the night, right, get a hotel room, and it'd still be not that much worse financially.
Right.
And it was harder in Toronto to get tickets than it was here in Ottawa. So, if I wanted to go to Toronto, didn't get through, I can go to Ottawa. Maybe it's $100, $200 more, whole thing total. But
I'd make it a weekend.
Right. And now that we've got to this point, not just Sens, but, industry-wide, whether it be concerts, but dynamic pricing says, we already know you're going to try and do that. We will adjust prices accordingly. And you and I have debated whether that's a good or a bad thing. But that does sort of limit the appeal. If you live in Mississauga, maybe I'll spend the extra $150 or $200, whatever it's going to be, from a scalper in Toronto rather than drive all the way up to Ottawa. So now you're more dealing with your Kingston Leaf fans and your
Belleville,
your Ottawa Leaf fans, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to watch how this is played out. Were you at the time, a go out guy to watch the games, have people in game? Like, or have you always been maybe? I think it's well established. I am a watch these games alone kind of guy.
Well, I have no friends.
Well, I thought maybe back then people hadn't yet got to know you.
I prefer to watch big sporting events on my own. Small crowd.
Yeah.
I don't want a bunch of people yammering. And really, if I can be completely honest with you, and it'll take the listener aback, I can be easily cajoled into yammering as well. And then I don't. The game doesn't get my full attention, which I hate.
Yeah.
Right? This is the time of year that I want to see it, and I want to...
I'll yammer during Sens Red Wings on February 9th, or
I'll
whatever.
yammer during Leafs Carolina on a Saturday when we've been forced into the afternoon, and I don't care. Where's the guacamole dip at? That's how that works.
Okay. I'm very much the same way. I've never been to an NHL playoff game. I
was at that Kravchuk drives the steak. I was at that game.
Okay. That was going to be my next, but it's, in the last several years, they, don't stick around long enough to give you many options for home games to get to if you're a Leaf fan.
Right.
But the Sens have had some deep runs. How many, whether it be Battle of Ontario or not, have you been to many playoff games here in Ottawa?
Half a dozen, probably.
Yeah.
Half a dozen, maybe. I always get to the point where, and again, I would never have said I'm cheap. but I am clearly
Frugal.
Yeah, when I look at it and go, I
got a really nice TV
the older,
here.
well, the older I get, and you're like, I can just so it's sort of waned a bit. Although I have loved going to more games this year.
Yeah.
I would love to be going to a playoff game, but I am not.
Yeah. I sort of thought about it as well, and yet made no move, right? Like for somebody like me who's not, a flex pack or an insider or whatever.
On demand.
Right. Although I think we talked about this. They started emailing me after every win, and that got really irritating, and I just had to, I hit unsubscribe like 17 times, and they kept sending them to me. It's like they knew
you can't unsubscribe us.
And then I finally got unsubscribed just in time for Leafs to match up with the Sens, and maybe I would have had a pre-sale or something. I don't know. But like, I had a buddy of mine down in Toronto who was sort of texting me like, have you heard anything about how many tickets are going to be available in Ottawa? And I sort of said, it's not going to be many. Like, they haven't been in for a long time. It's Leafs Sens in general. They went season ticket holder first. Those people are being held tight, right, to not sell. And then the thing came around on Thursday at noon was the general onset. And you would have just been in with everybody else, like a concert, right?
Yep.
Are you first through for whatever was left? And I just didn't do it. I was just sort of, like, it's one of those things where I'd love to go to a playoff game, but apparently not as much as I thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it didn't register hard enough for me to be sitting there in the Ticketmaster queue.
Because you go, how hard am I going to have to work?
Yes. If it falls in my lap.
To maybe have this happen and then to, shell out 5 times more than I just did last week.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Sure.
That's the price of doing playoff business.
But this has always been the conversation you and I land on. You've gone to a bunch of games this year, so you notice the price. Like, I'm going once, I'll pay the whatever.
No, of course, yes.
So, do you have, when you think back on, so it was 2000, 2001, 2002, and 2004. Is there one of those series to you? Because I had to go back and watch like some series highlights on YouTube, which honestly, man, the clips I dropped in the opening there, shit's getting harder to find because every Tom, Dick, and douchebag with a podcast, hey everybody, is out there right now posting their new Battle of Ontario. The search terms you used to use to find all this stuff is suddenly now stuff from like 4 days ago.
I was inundated with Jonas Hoagland shit. Like, what are we talking about here?
Or, yeah, exactly. So when I did go back and try and watch, like, there are people out there who will do like highlight packs from each series, usually Leaf fans in this situation, right? Yep. Is there one of the 4 that stands out to you that felt more of a lost opportunity, or like one that was, we should have had that one, or maybe it's the other way. We were never even in this, and something memorable out of any of the 4 for you?
No, to me, it's
just a general malaise.
Yeah, well, it's not a general malaise, but it is a general feeling of we're always fighting uphill.
Right.
It felt in those years like it just, because you got to know the going feeling here was Ottawa's not tough enough.
Yeah.
We're skilled. We're full of Euros. We're going to get bullied. And the reality is, they tried, bringing in Rob Ray and bringing in Todd Simpson and doing all these things. Right? You just kept bringing in these guys.
Didn't Vaclav Varada play here briefly?
Yeah.
The old Buffalo. Maybe that was a little later.
But I'm just saying.
I'm with you. Yeah, we got to get tougher.
We got to get tougher, and you got to do it.
Guy in the blue hat over here has been screaming about this. Stop it! It's not helping.
Well, and it didn't help us, and so, and you guys have kind of lived that a bit in reverse, right? As it's gone, but it was, the reality was, at the end of the day, it wasn't toughness. It's we couldn't score enough goals or stop the key shots against.
Right.
And so it was such an open wound in the early 2000s, these playoff losses, right? And so, to be honest with you, some of the regular season stuff, for me, memory-wise, bleeds in.
Yeah, I'm with you, too. That clip we played, the Tucker going into the bench, that's a regular season game.
The Hawk and the Loogie thing. And that's right. I thought that was a playoff
So
thing.
did I, but it's not. It's
right.
Yeah.
And so, like the Chara McCabe thing, right?
Right.
That's a regular season. That's not a.
But for that 5 years or so, it bled for a reason because they all, like, every game was sort of like that, right? And I do remember, I've told the story before on the show, coming out of that season-long lockout, Leafs Sens night 1, it goes to the shootout, Alfie wins it. I'm in that bar down in Belleville, equally split. It feels like we're going to pick up right where we left off. And no, one franchise goes in one direction, that direction being down. The other has a Stanley Cup final in its very near future. And really, the rivalry hasn't been all that compelling ever since.
Since 04.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And it's funny because, as I said to you, I'd had enough. By the end of 04, I was like, no mas. I don't need this anymore in my life, right? It's hard.
Will the Red Wings take me back?
Yeah. Or can I just stop walking?
Cricket
looks awesome.
Yeah.
Little bocce action on the weekend, wear my pants.
I was going to get into the 04 Jays, but by April 15th, decided no thanks.
This is it, right? I'm going to start wearing my pants with a white belt up above my belly button. Anyways,
good look for you, man.
Yeah, it would be a good look for me. But by the middle of the teens, I miss those. You look back on those years and to care so much, because with great, reward comes great risk.
Yes.
And so when you don't have that, it's like a rush, right? It's like an addict, and you miss that. And so that has been sorely lacking between these two teams.
Well, I think that's something we'll get into a little more deeper tomorrow for sure. But when I looked back on all these highlight packs, and I did sort of remember it this way, but perhaps not as strongly as I should have, all 4 times you could make the argument it was goaltending, and that's it. It was goaltending, and that was it. 3 out of the 4 times the Leafs had Curtis Joseph. The reason when Curtis Joseph, who I often say is my favorite player of like that time of my life, or maybe ever, like we can have that conversation.
I'm not willing to have that conversation.
I liked him when he did what he did to Dallas in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was incredible. And I'm not yet a hardcore enough hockey fan to care that it's not for my team or whatever. I just thought that guy is we don't see that guy anymore flopping around and just like, I'm not comparing.
Taking out Mick Magoo or whoever it was he took out in the corner, and you're like, why is that not a suspension? What are we doing?
But, like, I'm not comparing the two, but very Hasek-like. It's not just giant guy drops into butterfly and whatever. He's diving everywhere. He's throwing his glove out and hoping for the best.
There's
that
goaltending
kind of
happening there.
Right. And so I loved watching that. And when he signed in Toronto, like, that's the first hockey jersey I ever got, was, like, that month. We're going out, we're getting a Curtis Joseph, Toronto Maple Leafs. And when I watched the highlights back of the 4 different times they met, and in the 4th and final time, it was still Ed Belfour, who was a little more like the modern goalie. He wasn't really the kick and flop, but
I'll give you $1 billion.
Yes. If you can make this save. I can do it! No, it was spectacular goaltending. And the one we talked about there where Sens won all 8 regular season meetings and the Leafs swept them, that was all Joseph. Like that, the game 1 of that series is the 1-0 Matt Sundin ping in overtime. And
across the blue line.
Yeah. It's I don't know,
Hey, if Stolarz lets that same shot in on Sunday night, are you not saying you got to get that? You have to have that shot.
Sure, I am.
From that far out, and you're
but
just
at the time,
I
was saying, "Woo, woo!"
Yeah, I know,
Everything's awesome,
and I would be too. But I'm just saying, it's one of those things where you look at it and go, "Yeah, it's a great shot and everything, right?"
Yeah,
like the Gretzky on Vernon coming down, pounds it over the other. You're like, it's a great moment.
Yes,
but you're like, "Fuck, man, your goalie's got to have that."
Yes. And part of that maybe is watching through modern goaltending eyes.
Of course it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
But you're right. Like Lalim, someone else did the math on like his numbers through those. He was not the problem. Like,
can I give them to you right now?
Sure.
In 41 playoff games, 1.76 goals against,
pretty good,
and a .926 save percentage.
That should take you a long way, man.
You know what his record was?
No.
21-20.
I'm not sure he was the problem.
That's what I'm saying.
I
now,
know you are.
The problem was that Sundin goal.
Yeah.
The 2 Nieuwendyk goals.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you let these goals in.
That's right. The old Grant Fuhr thing, right?
This is only in reverse.
Yes.
Grant would let a bunch in, but stop the ones you need. And so I think Lalim gets the lemon.
Yeah.
Right? But the reality is, if you could have just scored a little more for that guy.
Right. Which takes it
wouldn't have
back
been
to
as
my
crucial.
side of it, which was they tried like hell and Curtis Joseph is in the prime of his career. And I was texting a little bit on Thursday with our buddy Steve Lloyd because they were talking on the morning show there on 1200 about when did Cujo leave and Belfour come in. I said, Cujo leaves in the summer of 2002, goes to Detroit. They lose in the first round to Jaguar and the Ducks. And by the next December, he's in the minors behind Legacy and Hasek for the first time he comes out of retirement. And he has said 100 times, I never should have left Toronto. And like I said, that was my favorite player at the time. I'm of two minds. Like, yeah, that's right. You shouldn't have left. And I'm also like, maybe your best days were behind you. Glad you fucked off and let Belfour do the job here, right?
Was he not in Salt Lake City too?
Yeah, but that was 2002. So that was why some people said the rift between him and Pat Quinn after.
Play better too.
Yeah,
was he not in for the Sweden game?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, what are you doing?
Yep. It's true, man.
And then he went to Detroit, and they were
a lot more. What are you doing?
They were still sort of my sort of
right.
And you're like, man, that guy's no good.
He was not.
Nope.
When you were in the minors, making whatever at the time would have been big money behind Manny Legacy, it's not going well for you.
Oh, sorry to the Legacy family if you're listening.
Did not leave the legacy we were all hoping for.
No, exactly. But so to me,
yeah,
it absolutely was. Ottawa had good teams, and they just didn't get. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you or not, Matt. Just didn't get it done when it mattered most. Offensive teams, like people think of the Jacques Martin teams that can't score. Man, those teams were top 5 in offense in those years.
Yes,
and yet when it came to the playoffs, when the nipple clamps go on, right? Are you able to score then? No, because the game tightens up and it changes, right? And so that was always the lament. Then whereas Toronto with their Stumpy Thomases and their Owen Nolans and their Tuckers and Greens and Shane Corsons and
even
Ty
it's funny,
Domies.
Again, watching one of these sort of series summaries, one of the years it was Travis Green, Shane Corson, and Igor Korolev. You're like, Igor Korolev?
Yeah.
No, when I'm playing with those two, I'm feeling pretty tough. I can get it. Now, he was always a competent defensive player, but in terms of getting in there and mucking it up and whatever, I got those two guys with me. I'm feeling pretty brave. I'll be fine.
And Travis Green, I hated Travis Green
of course
back in the day. And he's wearing no visor, and he's got that face like a little pit bull or a little bulldog, right? It's like his little 2 canine teeth are coming over his bottom lip, right? And he's always got that face like he just sucked a shitty dick. Like he's just like, and so he still has it, but now he doesn't have a bucket squished on his head, right? And you're just like, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
But man, he and Corson, they were just out there.
Well, that 2002 series, the Leafs had played the Islanders in round 1. I don't remember who the Sens had played for obvious reasons.
2002? Flyers?
That sounds probably right. Roman Czechmanic maybe in the Flyers. The Leafs had been decimated. That Islanders series, everybody was hurt. And they got to the Sens. So our top line is now Alan McCauley between Roberts and McGillney. And Roberts started probably his new thing of haunting the Sens forever, right?
Sens killer.
Yeah, he'd go on and keep that going in Pittsburgh later on. But line 2, all of a sudden, Travis Green is our second line center, and he had a fantastic series too in that one. So it's been an interesting rivalry, man. I don't know if there's any when I watched some of this back, some of the names were fascinating to me. Like Peter Schaefer is a guy I haven't thought about forever, but scored a big overtime winner. He set up Mike.
How about that?
Peter Shastley. The other clip I was going to include here in terms of the even that. I was trying to balance the clips in terms of a goal and a goal and a fight and a fight.
I was imagining it was going to be all Leafs highlights.
Yeah, because I started with the Sundin ping and whatever. But I was trying to go... But there's not a good call of the Alfredson dummying Tucker and coming... I used the best one we could find, which was Bob Cole, but it's just and there's a Leaf player down and they scored. There's no names attached. There's no...
Yeah. But I can see it.
Yeah.
I'm I am totally, it's totally Juha Jalonen.
Juha, yes.
Just coming out from behind the net and you're like, woohoo.
Could be anybody.
Woohoo, Jalonen.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
But I went back and I some of the names that jumped out, like I said, I thought it was Peter Schaefer, but he centers to Fisher, I believe, and scores on that one in overtime.
Was that the Vermette goal?
It is Vermette, not Fisher. Yeah. Sorry, you're right. And the Tucker thing, I had to clip it out because it was getting long when he's going into the bench Carl Rakunik is throwing bombs from the bench side of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a name I haven't thought of in a while, right? I don't know if you have, obviously this has been coming up for quite a while. If there's been any familiar names come back to you, or
Yanni Hermy.
Yeah. Okay.
Martin Prusek and Shane, the Sheriff 90. These are the names where you're like, oh my God.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. And
I wish he hadn't played for me.
Yes. Well, but he was a guy.
Carl Pilash.
He was a goaler, right? He was a goaler.
Yeah.
He would get out there and he would do what needed to get done, right?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, no, the Rakuniks and the Shaslivis and I love Peter Schaefer was one of those guys. He could do
He was a useful player.
He was nifty. He had good hands. Just never sort of really.
Radek Bonk always there. Who
well,
people don't forget, but you're like, man, that guy was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
well, and you got you can't say Bonk without Arvidsson,
Magnus Arvidsson,
and Andreas Dackel.
Sure,
like these guys.
Yeah,
that's prime Sens, on the ascension kind of time, right? So
I was goofing around a little on Twitter with Graham Nichols, and they were talking about one of the big moments. I can't even remember. I think it was the anniversary of the Nieuwendyk game, which was just within the last week or two or whatever it would have been, which is another funny thing about the stretching out of the schedule, right, is we're celebrating Game 7s. We haven't started this year's.
Right.
But they both said, Nichols and then our friend in Farhaven, Don in Farhaven, said to both, it's Ricard Parson.
Rico Persson.
So that's the painful one. That's the blown game. That's the moment for them that sticks out the most. Like, they don't think about Nieuwendyk or what. Like, you could have, I guess, wrapped that series earlier. I don't remember the circumstance, but that's a name I wouldn't have remembered in a million years. And they both went, no, it's the Persson game.
And it's the game. So Ottawa's already up 2-0.
Was this in 04 or 02?
In 04.
Yeah. This is what we're doing. We're shooting from the hip here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've followed Ty Domi since he was at Peterborough Peak in 1986.
Yes.
And I've never seen that guy bleed. Never. Like, he's got a face like
Go ahead, hit the nickname.
Me idiot.
No, okay. So I use the term I always think of. I put it in the replies when those guys started going back and forth. Oh, plasticine.
Yes, this is it, man. He's got a face made out of plasticine. And so, yet somehow, he bleeds there. Like...
Good job, Ty.
And I have no doubt that he's down there with a nail file or something. Like, he's like gouging his face.
It's WrestleMania weekend, man. You got the razor blade in your glove.
And it's funny because late last week, Chris Neal was on 1200, and he's like, yeah, he never bleeds because you could punch that guy in the same spot in his head 15 times, and it would never bleed. And he's like, but that time it bled. Yeah. Right, and you see Domi.
That's a clutch player.
Yeah, and so to me, it's that and it's the Tucker. Right, those are the three: the Nieuwendyk, the Rico Pearson, and the Alfie. Those are the memories that are most.
Yeah, for me, even more than the Tucker thing or it is that Sundin. It was just, for whatever reason, the rink was so quiet in the moment, and they've been playing 0-0 for 70 minutes.
Yeah,
and it looks like a reasonably harmless, not harmless. Matt Sundin's a good player, crosses the blue line, but he just hammers it. Ping.
Yeah. So to me, and when you listen to the clip you played, it's like they're using the Masters bird sound.
Yes.
It's like
it's weirdly quiet.
There's no way that ping is that loud.
Right.
Like the birds at the Masters. You're like, are you using fake bird noises? Are you using fake pings? Like, that was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's AI. Come on.
Yeah, for sure it is.
That's the one that stands out to me, and that was I believe the sweep year.
And then Matz threw his broken stick into the stands and
also in the playoffs.
A woman.
And Alfie's counter was also in the playoffs. Yeah, they all run together a little bit, man. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
So this is going to be fun. We will. Unless you had anything else you wanted to hit on this one before we start looking forward.
No.
It sort of felt to me, and we talked off the top of the show here about it went dormant for a long time, and it still meant something to the fans.
Well, it means more to the fans. It means more to the fans still right now than I think.
And really just to us old ones. Like, I don't know if 15-year-old fans out there right now really give a shit about the Battle of Ontario either, right?
It's funny you should say that because we're driving home from the Blackhawks game with 250-somethings
yes,
and a 16-year-old.
Right.
And She's fired up about the Battle of Ontario, and we're talking about the baggage.
Yes.
And then she's like, who cares?
Well, why would that was before I was born.
She's like, that's 20 to 25 years ago. That's got no bearing on today.
And that's funny, right? Because in that moment, I think back to when Matt's and the ping and the whatever. Like, yeah, but Lanny McDonald. And you're like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit, right? But it's funny what time does to you or doesn't do to you.
Right. And she's right.
Yeah, of course. It has no bearing on the other.
One has zero, but somehow you and I both
This part is going to factor big into the series 100%,
somehow. Because I've already got all that.
That's the lens I'm watching it through.
100%. I've already taken the lashes. You have your back is still pristine. Like, wait till you take a couple. And so, well, and this is it, right? When they played Montreal in 2013, Ottawa, I'm talking about.
We played them too. Didn't go that well.
It was a chance to get in on the ground floor against a geographical
that other monster.
Yes. And you go, we're going to stick it to those fuckers and we're going to do it first, right? And that's the 5 fights on the ice and the Pajot hat trick. And
Pajot.
And they won that series.
The
and
walrus.
It was fat, bug-eyed walrus. And it was very satisfying.
Sure.
Because now it didn't exercise all those Leaf demons, but you're like, I don't even really care about the 2015 loss to the Habs.
Right.
Because we got that one, and it was super satisfying.
100%, man. And so that's why I wanted to tag on to the end. Like, to wrap this, I think I was probably, the Ridley, Gregg, Morgan Riley thing last year.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, maybe we're lighting a bit of a fire in this rivalry, but that was the last game of the year between the two. And we were going to have to wait till whatever it was, November this year. I don't remember anything happening. You're right. There was exhibition. That's right. But was that the spark? And so I did try to work that into the intro as well. Like, we'll take that 20-year leap forward, and now we'll see if we can fire this up again. But that sort of felt like the first bit of, when the Sens were great, the Leafs were shit. When the Leafs have been good, the Sens haven't been all that good. And you're
shit.
Sure. And so you're just sort of like, there's never been a moment, and we wondered at the time whether that would light the fuse. I'm not sure that it did through this regular season, but it is now close enough that we can tie it into this story as we reignite the Battle of Ontario.
And the beauty is, so in that time period, that's when you and I just met.
Yes.
And so,
not the Riley Gregg thing. You're right. Back at the
early
when the initial series are happening.
And so you, as the young, fresh-faced Leaf fan, and you were so indignant about and so emails
Don't
back and forth.
To me. We've won 4 times. What are you even talking about?
Like, it was just, and you were just so like the hate.
Life will always be this good, kids.
The hate for Alfredson was visceral and real, right? It kind
of still is.
It's this and that's fine, but it was this
he just defends me less in his suit behind the bench.
in his blue suit with his red face. Welcome to 53, Al. Hey. And so it's just one of those things, right? And so that's at the very early stages of our relationship, right? Was sort of formed around this, as I was a Senators guy and you were a Leaf guy, right? And so to have somebody that
I could have seen what was coming.
Yeah. Hello.
Life's going to be tough, kid.
Yeah. Exactly.
Buckle up.
Toughen up.
We will see who's going to toughen up throughout this series. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of the podcast. This one, instead of looking back, looking forward. What's about to happen here? How's this going to play out? And how are the Leafs going to get to 5-0 in playoff series against the Sens?
Can't wait to see how this all unfolds.
Recent history suggests it'll all be fine.
Yep.
For Rob, my name is Matt. We are on social media at Talk Can Audio. Give us a follow there and on whatever app you're hearing this. And stick around throughout the series. We will do our best to present a balanced, do our best.
Yeah.
We'll see. Subscribe anyway. We'll see you tomorrow. Looking ahead, Leafs Sens Battle of Ontario.
See ya.
That's it. I cannot work under these conditions. If anybody wants me, I'll be downstairs at McDougal's. Call the weekend guy. I don't care.